Welcome to my latest video running the M4 in the 12.0 series at Okayama International Circuit. This is my first time racing at this track, and the first thing I noticed is it must be where Polyphony Digital drew their inspiration from when developing Kyoto Driving Park. I like the track as it has technical sections and several spots for overtaking, thus lots of action every race. First, let's check out the pace car for a minute. This thing is absolutely on rails. It's like a slot car. Unbelievable. Need to get the pit crew to mount up a set of those tires. And on to the race, starting P6. Still struggling in qualifying on cold tires. Coming up to turn 1, this is aptly named First Corner by the track map. Here I'm following Luis Fernando in the number 5 car. Now rolling through turn 2, also known as Williams. Surprisingly, no one's taken anybody out yet. Everyone's actually behaving themselves. But that will not last for too long as we come up to Atwood Corner, turn number 4. Some cars going wide, some making some passing moves, and Andre here in the number 9 car gets all crossed up in the grass. And a carnage ensues, several people involved, tires falling off. I had to slow up a little bit, which allows Peter in the 7 car to get a little bit of run, but I have the inside line, I block, and I'm able to keep it, and he doesn't push it too much. Taking a look back at the replay, 3rd car on your screen there, Andre hits the little bump, gets sideways, touches the grass, across the track. I remain as cool as the other side of the pillow. RIP to my favorite sports anchor, Stuart Scott. And Andre remains on the side of the track, licking his wounds. Also happening on lap 1, here in turn 2, we have Shane, number 12, getting a little loose and getting the big T-bone steak by Jake in the number 15 car. And for good measure, Shane decides to take out his frustrations on the tire wall. Turn 2 had quite a bit of action, which you'll see later on in the video. Now moving on to lap 1, going on lap 2. Here's Jack Ritchie in the 8 car. Thinking about making a move on 10 and just wham, gives him the front bumper. No regrets.
Regrets?
And carries on his way. Moving on halfway through lap 2, got Thomas Makepeace making a move on Thomas DeYoung. And oh, they come together into the wall. Now Makepeace backs up into Augustin Castro, minding his own business. Meanwhile, Makepeace loses his trunk. It comes back through the futuristic technology of the BMW M4. Now, a lap and a half later, we're back on board with Thomas DeYoung, following Makepeace, who took him out earlier, looking for a way to take out some revenge on his opponent. Coming through Williams, Makepeace loses it, and DeYoung passes right by him like a political post on Facebook. He said, "I don't want nothing to do with you." Now back to me. I've been cruising around in P3, running about the same speed as the leaders. Ahead of me are actually the 2 Brazilians that I pointed out in the previous Laguna Seca race. And Brazilian number 2, Bianchini, crushes the wall, and I'm able to take P2. I'll take that any day. Moving to lap 8, on board with Thomas, number 11, completely outbraking himself, slamming into Jake in the 15 car. Now, Jake says, "Okay, you want to do that? Hey, here's my bumper right into your driver's seat." Ends up taking himself out. But hey, message received. Now on to the finish of the race. Brazilian number 1 from Laguna Seca, Igor, was able to hold on to P1 for the entire race and capture the win. Me started in P6, got up to P2, not too bad for my first race at Okayama, so I'll take it. I enjoyed this track, stayed out of trouble, and came out with a good result. Here's a snapshot of the final results. You see P2 in between the 2 Brazilians. And also my laps. Fast lap, only 200ths behind Igor. Definitely not too bad for first time at this track. Now we'll move on to the second race of 3. This one I'm starting in P8, still can't get a good qualifying. The cold tires just haven't figured them out yet. Leader takes off, and one thing I've noticed with starts in iRacing is since the leader can go when he can, it definitely kind of spreads out the field a little bit, and turn ones aren't necessarily very chaotic. However, in the second turn, there always seems to be a little bit of contact or something going on. And here, I'm still in P8. 2 cars take each other out. Turn 2, another car involved also. Here I'm following Joachim in a 5 car. Now coming up to turn 4, I see an opportunity, so I'm going to go for it. And I put it in there. Get it almost on the apex, another car loses it. Now going on the back straight, I'm already in P4 halfway through the lap. It couldn't have went any better. Going back to the replay, turn 2. Steven and Jack side by side. Rayhan pokes his nose in, makes it 3 wide. Steven and Jack come together, take themselves out along with another competitor. Their race is practically over already. 2 turns later, Rayhan, who basically caused the first incident, takes himself out in turn 4, and instead of staying there, he decides to drive right back into traffic, hits Matthias. Lewis crushes him. Rafa goes around the outside to avoid it all. Absolutely crazy. Now moving on to lap 3. I'm in P4. Anthony making a move on Joseph, pops him up in the air. I'm able to take the position off his dirty move. That puts me up into P3. And taking back a look at the replay, there was actually more that happened. As you see Anthony taking Joseph out. Joseph turned around backwards looking at traffic, waiting for a spot to turn around. And he finds one very clean. That's actually really sportsmanlike. However, Sven has to check up and gets spun by Rayhan once again in the middle of an incident. Sometimes you just brew your own luck. Now ahead of those guys, the same lap, Lewis and Matthias having a battle. Lewis runs Matthias wide, gets in the grass. Matthias slams the tire wall. Now here comes Rayhan after his incident. Figured, hey, I'll make another move. Dives under Joseph, who just got spun out. Joseph says, not in my front yard. Once again, brewing his own luck. Maybe he'll learn, maybe he won't. Now back on board with me, lap 4. Here I'm following Anthony. I feel like Anthony's tires are getting a little hot as he was not getting as much grip in the corners. So coming up to Admin corner, decided to throw it up under there, make a move. And he kind of holds the outside. So we come down the back straight, side by side, putting about 430 horsepower to the ground. It's a drag race. As long as I keep it on the inside for the hairpin, it should be golden. I think he backs off a little bit, decides not to fight it, and there we go, pass completed. Now up to P2 after starting P8. Now on to lap 6, we got Jack followed by Steven. And Steven right here gets on the brakes a little late. He decides to use Jack's rear bumper as a brake, and he politely stops to not cause any further damage. They both end up losing about 4 spots in that incident. 1 lap later, coming up to the hairpin, Rafa and Sven side by side. Rafa runs Sven wide, they both go off. People disappearing left and right. Rafa comes back on, nails Jack. An awful string of events for everyone involved there. Now on to lap 8, back at the hairpin. Casey run a little wide, Joachim trying to make a move underneath and hits him, spins out. There is a crest there, so if you get any sort of help while you're on the power, you're probably going to go around. This was another crazy race. However, I was able to avoid all the issues. Starting in 8th, ended up getting a 2nd, not too bad. Still need to work on that qualifying to get a better starting position. As you can see, P2. Take a look down there in 19th, our boy Rayhan, after causing 2 laps of chaos, either got disconnected or had too many incident points. Now comparing my lap times to the overall winner, you see I actually had faster lap by 1/10 and was pretty much quicker overall, so definitely need to work on that starting position. And for the third and final race, I ask and I shall receive. I end up qualifying P3 for this one. We got Brad on the pole, Eric on the outside, and Brad takes off. I get a pretty good jump. Eric falling asleep a little bit. I couldn't really ask any more for the start. I've made my way up to P2. Hopefully I can hold it in this first corner. Eric does a great job braking, hanging on the outside. I think I have him clear. So I'm going to hold a little tight line here, and he just throws it all the way in there. I'm arms and elbows trying to keep a hold of the car. I do keep it on the track, hit another guy, and I'm still trying to get my wits together. Another guy hits me. My steering wheel is actually off center now. I could barely keep it on the track. Going through Atwood Corner, I'm just trying to figure out what's wrong with the car, keep it going in a straight line, and here I'm able to catch my breath. Behind me I have Robin, who's desperately trying to get by me, take advantage of my misfortune. But this race is already not going my way, so I'm just going to try to hold on and make the best of it. Try to keep the rating up and the safety rating up as well. Coming out of Hairpin, heading up to Revolver Corner. Pierre in the 11 car gets a little wide, comes back on, basically taking the WRC line. And really, I'm still trying to just hold on. The wheels cockeyed, and Robin throws it in there from about a mile back. I give him room. I hold my line here, and we touch. I sent him sideways. He really appeared to turn in early there, and we'll actually see he has a tendency to do that. You'll see it later on in the race. So a disaster first lap for me. Went from basically P2 to P8, the opposite as the last race. Alright, taking a look at the replay, I figured out later that my mirror settings are not really optimal. Objects were closer than they appeared in the mirror, which I have since went back and fixed. So taking a second look, I want to talk about the steering inputs I used to make this save. When I get hit, I actually let the wheel move on its own through my fingers, where the caster steers for me. This is faster than I counter steer on my own. Then, as I catch the rear end, I start turning the wheel back to the left before the rear end has a chance to swing the other way, starting a tank slapper. I do this preemptively, anticipating what the weight of the car is going to do. It doesn't always work out that way, but this time I was lucky enough to get the timing just right. A little later in lap 1, we have Jonathan in the 16 car coming down the back straight to the hairpin. Forgets to use the stop pedal and slams into Timothy in the 14. Hopefully he only receives some cosmetic damage for that one. Back to me, we have Robin trying to deliver a one-day package all the way from Russia. Thankfully I see him at the last big second to give him some room. And then into Hobbs, he shuts the door but hasn't completed the pass yet and spins himself out. Fast forward to lap 2, we have Travis following Pablo. Then going into Piper, Pablo goes a touch wide and Travis from No Lift Motorsports drives right through him. That's pretty much the theme for this race. Now, 2 laps later, on board with Robin yet again, coming out of the hairpin, heading into Revolver, he gets a taste of his own express shipping as Timothy sets something on his doorstep. Here we see what I was talking about earlier with Robin's driving and turning in early. Ahead we can see Diego turning into Piper, turn 7, about where the red and white curb starts. Robin is already turning in and taking the apex while Timothy is still there. Once again, this results in spinning himself. As he loses momentum, Matthew comes in hot with nowhere to go and they collide, smacking each other a few times as they try to regain control. Matthew takes this as an insult and decides to dish out an overhand right to express his displeasure. Well done. Now lap 4 going on lap 5, on board with Pierre, probably getting a little antsy to gain another position. Outbrakes himself a little bit and sweeps Eduardo right off the track. Taking another look from the TV camera, we see Pierre pull to the inside, gets about a bumper of overlap, which appears to be enough in this game, and Eduardo off into the gravel. Adding to his own misery, pulls back right into traffic, gets crushed by Brody, minding his own business. Finds Eduardo with a death wish. Now back on board with me, lap 5. Now I'm P7 thanks to that Eduardo incident. Pierre goes wide, coming out of Piper. I get a little run. I'm going to try to show a look. He holds on the outside of Redman. So we're still side by side. This time I'm on the outside, going through Hobbs. Runs me kind of wide. I'm like halfway in the grass. Try to do a little over-under here, but nothing comes of that. Through the last corner, he gets a little crossed up, missed the apex. I hit the apex. I get a run. Pull up alongside. Hopefully I can get it done in turn 1. And he outbrakes me and then slams the door. You'll see that is one of the things he does coming up. Now coming through Williams, once again he misses an apex. I hit mine, I get a little run. Actually about even going through the S's here. In Atwood corner, I'm going to take a shot. We both outbreak ourselves. I hit him and he goes off.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Taking a look back at not my brightest moment. You see we both brake late. He turns in trying to straighten the corner to use a little bit more asphalt to slow down. But I'll definitely take all the blame for that one. And that's it for this race. Starting third. Ended up finishing in 6th. Not bad for a terrible race. And here are the results. Not really much to look at. And here's my laps and the leader's laps. I couldn't really compete due to the alignment damage. Not to mention, running into several people didn't help my cause either. And that brings a close to my latest video. I hope the chaos-filled races provided you some quality entertainment. As always, please like and subscribe to help me out and get notifications on new content. Also, leave a comment below of what you think. Until next time, cheers!